Ladies and gentlemen, emotional detachment is not about being cold, heartless, or indifferent to life. It is about learning to walk in freedom, spiritual, emotional, and mental freedom, where your peace is no longer held hostage by the opinions, judgments, or codes of the outside world. When you reach a point in your life where you stop giving a damn about every little thing, that is not arrogance, that is awakening. Many people live their lives reacting to everything. Every insult, every disappointment, every setback, as if these external forces control their inner world. But the truth is, power belongs to the one who chooses where to place their energy. Emotional detachment is the art of choosing your inner stability over outer noise. Think about it. How many times have you lost your peace trying to make someone understand you? How many nights have you spent restless, replaying a conversation, regretting your silence or your reaction? Emotional detachment says, I no longer allow your behavior to dictate my well-being. That's not weakness. That's spiritual maturity. That's divine strength. It's important to understand that emotional detachment doesn't mean not feeling. It means not being consumed by what you feel. It's knowing how to acknowledge the storm without letting it sweep you away. It's hearing the criticism but not letting it shake your identity. It's loving deeply without needing to control or be controlled. This is where real freedom lies. You weren't created to live in fear of rejection. You weren't designed to be a slave to approval. There is something sacred about your peace, and God didn't give it to you so the world could take it away. Speak the word, Lord, because in that word is power. Power to heal the wounds that made you reactive. A power to release the people who can't see your worth. Power to unchain yourself from the fear of being misunderstood. There is divine healing in detachment. When you step away from what's toxic, when you unplug from the drama, when you stop feeding the ego's desire be right, like, or validated, you begin to hear your soul again. You begin to remember who you are in Christ. You realize that not every battle is yours to fight, not every opinion deserves a response, and not every feeling needs to rule your spirit. One real-life example comes to mind, a woman who spent years trying to gain her family's approval. Everything she did, her career, her relationships, her choices, was filtered through the lens of, will they approve? One day, after years of emotional burnout, she prayed a simple praying, God, I let go. That moment marked the beginning of her emotional detachment, not from love but from fear. And as she walked away from the need for validation, she stepped into her calling. She became more creative, more peaceful, more powerful. That can be your story too. But you have to make a choice. You have to decide that your peace is more valuable than their opinion, that your healing matters more than their acceptance, that your destiny is not tied to their applause. So here is your call to action. Let go. Let go of what hurts your heart. Let go of who doesn't see your worth. Let go of the need to control, to fix, to prove. And let God take over. Anchor your soul in His truth, and you'll find that the things you once gave so much energy to no longer deserve a second thought. Spiritual liberation is the moment your soul remembers its true worth, unchained from the expectations, opinions, and judgments of the world. It is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is a holy rebellion, against fear, against guilt, against the conditioning that says you must shrink yourself to be acceptable. When you say, I don't give a fuck, not from a place of bitterness, but from a place of sacred clarity, you are stepping into a deeper truthing. Your spirit was never meant to be enslaved. We are raised to care about pleasing others, to care about how we're perceived, to care about fitting in. But too often, that caring turns into captivity. You care so much about what others think that you stop listening to your own heart. You care so much about being perfect that you stop living. You care so much about being enough that you forget you already are. Spiritual liberation is about unlearning all of that. It's about detaching from the noise so you can finally hear the voice of God within you. There is something deeply healing about the moment you stop performing. When you stop trying to be palatable for people who are never satisfied. When you stop chasing love that cost your self-respect. When you stop saying yes just to avoid rejection. That is not carelessness. That is divine wisdom. Because every time you abandon yourself for approval, you dishonor the spirit that lives in you. You were never called to be everyone's version of good. You are called to be whole, and wholeness requires honesty. The kind of honesty that sometimes sounds like, "I don't care what you think anymore." That kind of honesty makes room for the divine. That kind of honesty invites the Holy Spirit to move freely through your life. Because when you stop being who the world told you to be, God can show you who you really are. Take the story of a man who spent his entire life as a people pleaser. He served everyone. He was the nice guy, the reliable one, the one who never said no. And yet, he felt empty, unseen, burned out. One day in the quiet of his room, he heard a whisper in his soul, "Speak the word, Lord," and he did. He spoke truth into his life. He let go. He started saying no. He started honoring his own voice. People were shocked. Some even walked away. But for the first time in his life, he felt peace. That's spiritual liberation. That's freedom wrapped in divine alignment. Let's be clear, spiritual liberation doesn't mean rejecting love or shutting people out. It means choosing love over fear. It means protecting your energy so you can serve from a full cup. It means trusting that your worth is not determined by your performance but by your existence. And it means having the courage to let go of everything that makes you feel small, even if it looks like success to others. So here is your call to action on. Reclaim your soul. Let go of the pressure to be perfect. Let go of the shame that keeps you silent. Let go of the false peace that comes from pleasing everyone but yourself. Trust the voice of God within you. Trust the peace that comes when you stop giving your power away. This isn't about apathy. This is about alignment. This is about anchoring yourself in the truth that your spirit is sacred, and you don't need to apologize for protecting it. That is spiritual liberation. That is real freedom, and it begins the moment you decide you're done living for anyone else's comfort. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Let them call you selfish, but don't let them chain you again. Letting go of judgment is one of the most liberating acts of the soul. It's the moment you stop letting the opinions of others dictate your peace, your path, or your purpose. For too long, you've allowed the voices around you, sometimes subtle, to become louder than the voice of God within you. Judgment comes dressed as advice, expectation, comparison, and even fake concern. And before you know it, you're living a life that pleases everyone but betrays yourself. Letting doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop enslaving yourself to their projections. You stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What is true for me?" That question alone is a spiritual turning point. Because judgment only has power when you give it your energy. The moment you take it back, the spell breaks. Think about it. How many decisions have you made not because they were right for you, but because you feared being judged? How many times have you said yes just to avoid disapproval or stayed silent to keep the peace? That's not harmony. That's suppression. And the longer you suppress your truth, the more disconnected you become from your purpose. Letting go of judgment is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. When you align with your higher self, with the divine truth inside you, you stop needing permission to be free. The world may call it not giving a damn, but spiritually, it's a homecoming. It's returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. Consider a woman raised in a conservative community, always taught to be quiet, obedient and small. She married young, had children, and followed the rules. But her soul ached. Her spirit whispered that she was meant for more. For years she ignored it, paralyzed by the judgment of others. Then one day she heard a word from within, simple and divining: let go. So she did. She started speaking her truth, started writing, started healing. The judgment came, but it didn't crush her, because she had already made peace with who she was. That's what happens when you stop giving your energy to fear. Letting go of judgment is also an act of forgiveness. You forgive others for not understanding you. You forgive yourself for all the times you stayed small, and most importantly, you stop judging others too. Because when you're free inside, you don't need to control anyone else. You let people be, just as you are learning to let yourself be. This doesn't mean you won't feel the sting of judgment. It means it won't own you. It won't chain you to roles you never chose. You will hear it, see it, but you will no longer absorb it. That is power. That is spiritual maturity. So here's the truth: you don't owe anyone an explanation for your healing, your evolution, or your joy. You don't need to eat your soul to make others comfortable. The people who truly love you will rise with you. The rest were never your tribe. Let go of the judgment. Let go of the shame. Let go of the lie that says your worth is up for debate. Here is your call to action: stand in your truth. Not with defiance, but with divinity. Speak the word, you're the one God placed in your spirit. Choose peace over performance. Choose authenticity over approval. And walk boldly into the life that belongs to you. When you stop giving your energy to judgment, you start giving it to freedom. And in that freedom, you'll find clarity, strength, and the kind of unshakable faith that can't be stolen. Let go. You were never meant to carry their opinions anyway. Unapologetic self-worth is a sacred fire. It's the moment you no longer shrink to fit someone else's comfort, no longer apologize for being too much, too loud, too bold, or too different. It's when you understand that your worth isn't a negotiation, it's a birthright. You don't earn it. You don't need to prove it. You simply embody it, unapologetically, powerfully, and with divine conviction. We live in a world that teaches us to apologize for who we are. From childhood, we're conditioned to please, to fit in, to stay small. We're taught that confidence is arrogance and that humility means silencing our brilliance. But here's the truth: your light doesn't threaten the world, it heals it. And when you finally stop giving a damn about who's uncomfortable with your radiance, you begin to live. Unapologetic self-worth is not arrogance. It's not ego. It's clarity. It's knowing that you were created in divine perfection, that every part of you, your past, your scars, your dreams, serves a higher purpose. When you own your worth, you stop waiting for others to validate it. You stop seeking love in places that cost you your dignity. You stop performing for approval and start living in authenticity. There's something sacred about no longer needing to explain your value. Imagine the power in walking into a room and not wondering if you're enough. Imagine speaking your truth without softening it to make others feel better. That's what it means to know your worth. You no longer trade your peace for acceptance. Think of someone who has walked this path. Maybe it's a survivor who finally said, "I am not broken." A woman who stopped chasing love from people who couldn't see her. A man who gave up the grind of the trying to prove his success to a father who never showed up. Their stories are not about rebellion. They're about remembrance. They remembered who they were. And once you remember, you no longer tolerate what dishonors your spirit. Unapologetic self-worth is rooted in faith. When you believe that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you stop begging for scraps. You stop internalizing rejection. You stop confusing criticism for truth. Faith tells you that your Creator didn't make a mistake. Faith anchors you when the world tries to shake you. And when you combine faith with self-worth, you become unstoppable. But here's the challenge: the world will try to humble you in the wrong way. It will shame your confidence, mock your growth, and question your power. That's why you must stand firm, not with anger, but with certainty. You must look in the mirror every day and remind yourself, "I am enough. I am worthy. I am allowed to take up space." This kind of worth is radical. It scares those who are still shackled to approval, but it also liberates. It gives others permission to rise, to heal, and to claim their place. Your unapologetic self-worth becomes a beacon for others still trapped in self-doubt. So here's the call: stop apologizing for being who God made you to be. Stop watering yourself down. Stop over-explaining your choices to people who were never meant to understand. Speak the word, live the word. Let your life be a testimony of bold, holy, unwavering self-worth. You don't need to give a damn about pleasing anyone but divine. Because when you know who you are, when you walk in your truth, you don't just exist, you transform. And that's what this world desperately needs: people who are brave enough to be themselves, unapologetically. Freedom from expectations is a powerful act of self-liberation. It is the moment you stop allowing the world's assumptions, judgments, and projections to dictate the rhythm of your life. From the moment we're born, we are wrapped in layers of societal and familial expectations. How we should behave, what success should look like, who we should love, what we should fear. But freedom begins the moment you realize you don't owe anyone your conformity. You only owe yourself your truth, This kind of freedom isn't rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's an awakening. It's realizing that trying to meet everyone's expectations is a form of spiritual slavery, a prison made of invisible chains. When you live to satisfy others, you sacrifice your peace, your joy, and your purpose. You become a stranger to yourself, constantly morphing into versions of you that please people who barely know you, people who don't carry your pain, who won't walk through your battles, and who cannot feel the weight of your soul. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean you become reckless or uncaring. It means you start living aligned with your inner voice, your divine compass. It means choosing authenticity over approval. And yes, it will cost you. It might cost you relationships. It might bring criticism. But what you gain in return is your live voice back, your sanity back. There is immense spiritual strength in saying, I no longer live to fulfill your version of me. That's when healing begins. Because so much of our suffering comes from the fear of disappointing others, from trying to live up to a standard we never even agreed to. We think we're being responsible or loving, when in reality we're just being obedient to fear. That fear makes us say yes when we mean no. It makes us endure what we should walk away from. It makes us betray ourselves in the name of being accepted. But what if we chose something higher? What if we decided that divine alignment is more important than human approval? What if we trusted that God didn't design us to be carbon copies of someone else's plan? True success is not meeting expectations. It's fulfilling purpose. It's becoming who you were divinely created to be, not who others think you should be. Think of the people who changed the world. They didn't fit in. They didn't say yes to every expectation. They disappointed many to stay true to themselves. They lived with courage and in doing so, gave others permission to do the same. That's the freedom that shakes the foundations of this world. That's the freedom that brings healing to generations. When you free yourself from expectations, you make space for grace. You stop chasing love and let it come to you in its purest form. You stop performing and start living. You stop fearing failure and start embracing growth. You begin to trust the divine rhythm of your own journey, even when it looks nothing like anyone else's. Here's your call to action. Release the weight of expectations. Lay them down. Speak this truth into your heart every day. I am not here to impress. I am here to express. I am not here to perform. I am here to transform. Choose faith over fear. Choose your voice over their noise. And choose your path, even if you have to walk it alone. Because the moment you stop giving a damn about expectations that don't serve your soul, you finally start to live. Divine confidence is a profound and unshakable belief in your own worth and purpose that transcends the opinions, judgments, and criticisms of others. It is the kind of confidence that is not rooted in external validation or fleeting accomplishments, but flows from a deep connection to the divine source within you. When you embody divine confidence, you carry yourself with a quiet strength, knowing that you're exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you are meant to do. This confidence is not about arrogance or pride, rather it is humility mixed with faith. It is the understanding that you are a unique creation, perfectly crafted with gifts and talents that no one else possesses. It is the courage to stand in your truth even when the world tries to pull you down or tell you that you're not enough. Divine confidence means you don't waste your energy trying to please everyone or fit into molds designed by others. Instead, you live authentically, unapologetically, and boldly. Many people struggle with self-doubt because they measure themselves by external standards. How much money they make, how many followers they have, how others perceive them. But divine confidence invites you to look inward, to recognize your errant value simply because you exist. It reminds you that your worth is not dependent on your performance or approval from others, but is grounded in the sacredness of your being. This realization is liberating. It frees you from the chains of comparison, envy, and fear. Living with divine confidence is an act of faith. It means trusting that God, the universe, or whatever higher power you believe in, has a plan for you that is unfolding perfectly, even when the path is unclear or challenging. This faith carries you through moments of uncertainty and setbacks because you know your journey is bigger than any temporary failure or criticism. You become resilient, able to rise above negativity because your foundation is solid and divine. Divine confidence also empowers you to set healthy boundaries. When you truly believe in your worth, you no longer accept toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, or situations that diminish your spirit. You speak up for yourself, protect your energy, and make choices that align with your highest good. This is not selfishness, it is self-respect and self-love. And when you do this, you inspire others to do the same. Real-life examples of divine confidence abound. Think of people who have faced immense criticism yet remained steadfast in their calling. Artists, activists, entrepreneurs, and spiritual leaders who refused to dim their light despite opposition. They knew their value and mission, and that inner conviction propelled them forward. Their success wasn't just material. It was the fulfillment of their divine purpose, which no external force could take away. Divine confidence is also about embracing vulnerability. It's the courage to show up as your authentic self, imperfections and all. The knowing that your true power lies in your honesty and openness. When you stop caring about what others think and start caring about your own spiritual growth, you tap into an energy that is magnetic and transformative. Your call to action is to cultivate this divine confidence daily. Begin by speaking kind and empowering words to yourself. Replace self-criticism with affirmations of faith and worth. A trust that you are supported by a higher power and that your path is unfolding as it should. When you feel the urge to care too much about others' opinions, remind yourself of your sacred worth. Stand firm in your truth and don't be afraid to say, "I don't give a fuck," about anything that threatens your peace or distracts you from your purpose. Divine confidence is not just a mindset. It's a spiritual practice. It requires faith, patience, and resilience. But once you embrace it, you'll find a freedom unlike any other. You'll walk boldly, live fully, and shine with a light that no one can extinguish. That is the power of divine confidence, the power to be unapologetically you, guided and strengthened by the divine within. Faith-based boldness is a powerful force that rises from a deep conviction in the divine presence guiding your life. It is the courage to stand firm, speak your truth, and take decisive action without being shackled by fear, doubt, or the need for approval from others. When you cultivate faith-based boldness, you embody a fearless spirit that does not waver in the face of opposition or judgment because your confidence is rooted in something far greater than worldly validation. It is anchored in faith. At its core, faith-based boldness means you no longer give undue power to the opinions or criticisms of others. You refuse to be controlled by social expectations or the desire to fit in. Instead, you live authentically and unapologetically, trusting that the divine plan for your life is unfolding perfectly. This boldness is not reckless. It is purposeful and measured, born from the understanding that you are guided and supported by a higher power. It is the willingness to take risks and move forward even when the path is uncertain, because you know you are not alone. This kind of boldness transforms how you respond to challenges and setbacks. Instead of shrinking or retreating, faith-based boldness encourages you to rise with resilience. When faced with criticism or rejection, you don't internalize those negative messages, rather, you see them as temporary obstacles or lessons. You maintain your inner peace because your self-worth and direction come from your faith, not from external circumstances. This shift in perspective frees you from suffering caused by overreaction or people-pleasing tendencies. Faith-based boldness also empowers you to break free from limiting beliefs and toxic environments. You begin to recognize what no longer serves your growth or well-being, and with courageous faith you let go. This might mean ending relationships that drain you, pursuing a dream others doubt, or simply refusing to carry the weight of negative voices. Each act of letting go fueled by faith strengthens your spirit and reaffirms your commitment to living a purposeful life. Real-life examples of faith-based boldness are found in the stories of countless individuals who dared to follow their calling despite fear and opposition. These are people who trusted their inner guidance and divine support to overcome obstacles that seemed insurmountable. Their boldness was an expression of faith that inspired others and created ripples of positive change. These stories remind us that faith is not passive. It is active and transformative, propelling us to walk courageously into our destiny. Faith-based boldness also encourages you to embrace vulnerability. It takes boldness to be open about your struggles, to ask for help, and to admit that you don't have all the answers. Yet, it is in this openness that healing and growth occur. When you anchor yourself in faith, you gain the strength to be transparent and authentic, which deepens your connections with others and yourself. To cultivate faith-based boldness, start by nurturing your relationship with the divine through prayer, meditation, or any spiritual practice that resonates with you. Let these moments be a source of strength and clarity. When doubts or fears arise, bring them into your faith practice and allow the peace that surpasses understanding to calm your heart. Affirm daily that you are guided and protected, and that boldness is your birthright as a child of the divine. Your call to action is to choose boldness today. Make a decision to no longer give a fuck about limiting opinions, fears, or past failures. Instead, invest your energy in faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the divine, and faith in the journey ahead. Stand tall, speak clearly, and move forward with conviction. Trust that every bold step you take is supported by an unseen power working tirelessly on your behalf. Faith-based boldness is a revolution of the spirit. It is the fearless declaration that you will live on your terms, aligned with your highest purpose and guided by unwavering faith. Embrace it fully, and watch how your life transforms as you become unstoppable in your pursuit of truth, freedom, and divine fulfillment. Inner peace through release is a transformative journey that begins when you decide to stop carrying the heavy burden of other people's expectations, judgments, and negativity. It's about freeing yourself from the endless noise of worry and stress that comes from trying to control every outcome or seeking approval from the outside world. When you reach the point of not giving a fuck, you unlock the door to profound inner calm and freedom, a place where peace is not dependent on circumstances but rooted deeply within your soul. The power of release lies in understanding that holding on tightly to things outside your control only fuels suffering. Whether it's past mistakes, toxic relationships, unkind words, or the pressure to meet unrealistic standards, these attachments drain your energy and cloud your mind. By consciously choosing to let go, you are reclaiming your power. This is not an act of giving up, but an act of courage and faith. You are saying, "I trust that I am enough as I am, and I do not need to bend to the demands or criticisms of others to validate my worth." Letting go is a spiritual practice that requires vulnerability and strength. It asks you to face uncomfortable truths about what you have been holding on to and why. Often, we cling to pain or resentment because they have become familiar parts of our identity. But by releasing these emotional chains, you create space for healing and growth. The release allows your spirit to breathe freely, and in that freedom, peace naturally emerges. This journey towards inner peace through release is not always easy. It challenges you to confront your fears, fear of rejection, fear of failure, and fear of being alone. Yet, it is precisely in facing these fears head-on that you discover your resilience. Faith becomes your anchor during these moments. By surrendering your struggles to a higher power, you tap into a source of divine strength that supports you beyond your own limitations. Real-life stories of transformation remind us that the greatest peace comes after we release what no longer serves us. Consider the person who walked away from a toxic job or relationship, despite the uncertainty ahead, only to find a new path filled with joy and purpose. Or the individual who forgave those who hurt them, not because they condoned the actions, but because they refused to carry the burden of anger any longer. These acts of release were acts of faith and self-love, leading to an unshakable peace that radiates from within. When you stop giving a fuck about trivial matters or harsh judgments, you reclaim your mental and emotional energy. You choose what truly matters, your values, dreams, and the people who uplift you. This selective caring sharpens your focus and strengthens your boundaries. Inner peace grows in this fertile ground where distractions fall away, and your authentic self is free to flourish. Practicing mindfulness can help anchor you in this state of peaceful release. By observing your thoughts and feelings without attachment, you learn not to react impulsively to every challenge or criticism. Instead, you respond with grace and clarity. Prayer, meditation, or quiet reflection further deepen this connection to your inner sanctuary, reminding you daily that peace is your natural state when you release the need to control. Your call to action is to embrace the practice of letting go. Start small. Release a negative thought, a petty worry, or an unhelpful habit. Build your faith that with each release, You are moving closer to the profound peace waiting inside you. Trust that divine healing is happening with every surrender. But don't give a fuck about what drags you down. Instead, give your attention to what lifts your spirit. Inner peace through release is a radical act of self-care and spiritual maturity. It is the quiet power that emerges when you stop fighting against the tide and allow yourself to flow with the divine current of life. By choosing release, you step into a life of greater joy, freedom, and unwavering peace. The moment you decide to stop giving a fuck about the noise, the path to lasting tranquility opens before you. Walk it with faith and courage.